Hey, what's up everybody? This is Tattoo Bard and welcome back to a new episode of the journey where we practice black and gray together to get better at doing black and gray tattoos. So stay tuned and I'm gonna explain you what we're gonna do today. So in the last episode we did this little flower tattoo design. I gave you 3 tips on how to do better black and gray, and that was to keep it simple, be patient, and slow down. And today we're gonna go a little bit further into depth with our practicing of black and gray. We're still gonna keep it simple, we're still gonna go slow, but we were gonna do a little bit of a bigger design. So I've drew something up, so let's check it out together. Alright, so here's the design that we did last time. And then this time we're gonna do this skull. Now the reason why I drew this on freehand is because I really don't like to stencil on the practice skin. But it's also a good practice for you, so I also suggest, if you want to do a black and gray piece, to at least either draw it yourself, or if you want to do a stencil of a reference photo and just trace over the lines, that you print the design first before you start making the stencil. Because I see, and I find myself doing this a lot too, is if you do this on your iPad, for example, or on a computer, you're gonna zoom in way too much and you're gonna put in way too many details, and then the tattoo is gonna be in this size and you have way too much detail, and then the stencil gets way too complicated. So either draw it yourself, draw it on freehand, or at least print the reference photo first before you do the stencil. So for this setup we're gonna use one more cup than we did last time. So now we have a full black, a half black. I did 3 drops of black and then 1 drop of black, and fill up the rest with water. So this is going to be our washes. We're going to use mainly the black for the outlines and the darker parts of the shading. Then of course the half black for the more darker shades in a light area, and the other ones just to smooth everything out. So the needles that we're going to be using today is this 5 round liner. We're going to use that for all the lining and some of the details in the shading, and we're going to use this small 9 mag. Okay, you could use bigger mags, you could also use just the liner. I prefer to use a small magnum because it's easier to maneuver and get into all the details. I am going to quickly outline this thing. I'm going to be using the Ambition Soldier. I wrapped it all up. Make sure when you practice you always wrap your machine, just so you can get the feel of it, what it feels like when it's wrapped. I'm going to use it wireless just to keep all the cables out of the way for you guys. So I'm quickly going to outline this and I'll be back when the outline is done. Right, so I did a really quick outline. It's not the best, but it's okay. It's all going to be about the shading today. Now, how do we approach a piece like this? What I always like to do is I always like to start with like the darker spots. So let's say the background, maybe the eyes, the nose, just so you get a feel for how the contrast is gonna look. Because if you start with all the light stuff, then most likely the whole piece is gonna be too light. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little bit around the skull, then do the eyes and the noses, and then we're gonna go from there. So for that part I'm actually gonna use the 9 Magnum. You can use a soft edge Magnum. I'm gonna use a flat one, and we're gonna use the same technique that we did last time. Also, I did change over to my Ambition Torped because me and my Ambition Soldier just not have a good relationship. So I'm gonna turn it down to about 6 volts. I'm using the 4.5mm stroke on this one. Ideally, maybe if you want to do really soft shading, it might be better with a 3.5 or a 4mm stroke, but it's all personal preference. I like to use a 4.5 because it is still softer than the 5, but it let me work a little bit slower. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna shade first a little bit here around, and I'm gonna do the eyes. So let's go. I'm gonna start just with solid black. I'm actually gonna start with the eyes. So now what you want to do, we're gonna do pretty much just whip shading. So first you want to layer a base. So from here we're just gonna whip and make longer strokes and just whip it. Okay, let's clean it, see what happened. Not too much yet. You also want to make sure you don't push too hard. You just have to gently brush over the skin. So there we go. And as you can see, I'm working really slow. I'm not using a fast hand speed or anything. Now if you start to see that you're creating lines or things like that, you want to either move a little bit faster or turn your machine down just a little bit more, okay? As you can see, it is darkening up. Okay, wipe again. Alright. Now, it is always taking a little bit longer on practice skin, but you know, you just have to be patient. Just take your time, don't start to rush. This process just takes time, okay? So I'm actually gonna start a little bit more from the line, start to darken it up a little bit. So I'm gonna make shorter strokes. Gonna color this edge solid black. Now what I do is I start doing slow circles to get the solid black, and then as soon as I start getting towards the shading, I'm gonna move quicker. So I start slow, make tight circles, but keep moving. Need more ink. So I do tight circles over here. And as soon as I'm getting close to the shaded part, I'm gonna go bigger circles and faster hand movement to blend that out. There. See, we're starting to blend this. I missed a little bit on the corner here. I'm gonna hit that really quick. And you just slowly build up your shades. Don't go too fast. That's why you need to go slow. If you go slow, you have the chance to build up your shades rather than blacking out this whole eye and it doesn't have any shade. Do some more whip shades if you need to. Just build up that structure in that eye. And you can get creative. I mean, I did a couple of lines. You can shade in between these lines a little bit. Just have fun, you know, be creative, do whatever you want to do with it. So that was eye number 1. Now there is a little bit visible of the eye here that we are just gonna black out. I'm not gonna use the 9 Magnum for that. I'm gonna do that with my liner. You could do it with your Magnum, it's absolutely no problem. I just think it is a little bit more comfortable for me to pack the small area with a liner. But yeah, if you prefer to do that with your Magnum, go ahead. I will just do it with my liner. I'm using a tight 5-round liner. I'm just gonna do small circles, but I move fairly quick, just because I don't want to overwork the skin too much. So move quick, but move your hand quick, but don't move forward really fast. So we're gonna go and do that. And then shade this part a little bit. I want to make it fairly dark since it's on the background. Alright, there we go. Now we're gonna head over to the nose. Little detail, usually there's like a little line inside here. You could do it, we're gonna do it just for now. Just do it really light, attach it to this part. Just make like a small something there. Okay. Now we're gonna get our Magnum again. Solid black. And from that line we just made, we're gonna do mainly solid black, but we're gonna leave just a little bit of a blank space towards this line. So we're gonna go whip shade again, make really short whips. Now these can be tricky. If you don't see any dots, like don't push too hard. If you get too many lines, just turn your machine down, which is what I'm gonna be doing now. I'm gonna turn it to 5 folds, just so I have a little bit more time. Shade down a little bit. Alrighty, a little bit more, so we're gonna work from the top. Follow that imaginary line or the blood line that we created. Shade downwards. And from here, from the corner, gonna go up. This is what they call cross hatching. You can do this with your liner. It works really good to smoothen out your shades a little bit. Shade just up to that line. Okay. And now we want to make that spot a little bit darker again. So we're going to do tight circles just along that line. I have to say, on regular skin this will go a lot quicker. If you go over as many times as we do on the practice skin, you're most likely gonna overwork the skin. But on practice skin it just takes a little bit longer, okay? This will help you to be more patient. Okay. Now what we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna work up towards this little line here. Okay? So from the corner, we're gonna build up that shade again. So you're gonna whip shade. And it's okay if you go over that line a little bit. It has some shades in there. Just make sure you go towards it. Close enough. Okay. From the top, we're gonna go down again. Follow along that little line. Okay, from this bottom, we're gonna go up. Shade in multiple directions. It's really important to get smooth shading. Okay, and now we're gonna do the same technique what we did in the eye. So we're gonna do small circles around this line here. Just fill that up, make it nice and black. And then once you hit the shading, do bigger circles. Don't go on for too long with the big circles. Do small bits at a time and just make sure you check what you've actually done. That way you can adjust while you're going at it, you know. Now, here, this backside here, this is usually pretty dark as well. So we're gonna hit that with solid black as well, just to build up a little bit of shape. Now, what you want to do here, you see how these little lines are not finished? You want to continue these a little bit further without going too close to the next line. So from here, we're gonna go up and kind of curl them back a little bit. Now if you want, you could do this with your liner. Let's do this smaller one with the liner just to show you. So from here, follow this line, make sure you whip and curl that back a little bit. There we go again. And then try, if you can, not to make it all the way solid up to the line, because if you want to do a darker background, it will kind of disappear. If you have like just the tiniest little line here in the bottom, that will give it some sort of highlight. You know, you can hit it with white later or do a smaller shade, like a lighter shade. Perfect. And this will help you create a little bit of texture as well. We're gonna do the same thing here. Just leave a little line like that. And let's go up. now that we've got the detail, let's do one real thing. Okay, now that we have got most of the detail, we're gonna switch back to our magnum. And then from the bone here, we're gonna shade towards what we just did with the liner. Now you want to leave a little bit of space in the shading, don't black the whole thing out. You could use the darker shade for this if you're not comfortable enough. I'm just gonna go with the black, that's fine. Just make sure you go slow and you'll be good. There. Color up to the line again. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to the back of the skull. Now, this can be fairly dark, okay? What I want to do is leave a little bit of a highlight. So we're going to start shading around this area. And it's going to be very dark. So first I want to whip shade a little bit, pretty close to the cheekbone, I'm guessing. So we're going to do some whips, just to get some feel for it. And kind of follow that line of the back of the skull, so you can go a little bit more in circles. Like that. Do a little bit more. All right. Now we're gonna do the coloring again. So we're gonna start from that little line I just created. Whip it out a little bit to the side. Start darkening it up. And then go bigger circles towards the shading. Some more. Here we go again. As you can see, it's not solid black right after the first time. It's because I run my machine really slow, so you got more time to do so. If this would go instant black, and you have nothing to build your shades with. Then you just have a black spot that you need to try to smoothen out. So it's better to start smooth than have to smooth out something that's really dark and probably make your whole design way too dark. So we're gonna blend it a little bit into this. Your circles, go back and forth a little bit faster. Clean it up. Okay, now you can see it's not very smooth yet. So we're going to pass over a little bit more, just to smoothen it out a little bit. Make sure you don't press too hard, just really slowly kind of go from the back, hit it and out, and in and out, and in and out. That's the best way to achieve smoother shading. Now this would also be easier if you used a bigger Magnum. It's easier to create smoother shading, but then it would be harder to hit all the corners, and I just prefer to hit the corners a little bit better and then use my hand to create a smoother shading. Go. Just a little bit more over here. Perfect. And just get it a little bit tighter so it follows the line a little bit more. Okay, let's give that a good clean. Alright, and it's already starting to look like a skull, right? Now, the next thing we want to do is do the back of the skull. Now this I'm going to do a little bit lighter, so I'm going to use the darkest shading, just so we get a little bit more lighter tones, because these are all pretty dark. So I want to go just a little bit lighter. Always make sure you clean your tip of your needle good before you do that. You can do that with a rinse cup, or just spray some of your water bottle in if you don't have any, just so you clean that dark out before you switch to a lighter tone. So here we go. The darker shading mix. And we're gonna whip shade again. So we're gonna follow pretty much this line and whip it towards the back of the skull. Okay? And you can go as far as you like. I'm not gonna go too far. I try to stay a little bit like around where this bone ends. So just shade it. Nothing too crazy. You can get a little bit tighter when you get to the top. Okay, let's do that again. So again, make sure you hit it in multiple directions, just so you get a smoother blend of the shade. I'm gonna go just a little bit further with my whip shading, because I also want to kind of attach it here to what we did on the back of the skull. But then don't take it all the way up, okay? So just attach it to the bottom here. And you can smoothen this part out a little bit with that shading, just so the transition to the lighter shading from solid black is a little bit smoother. And this is sometimes why you see black and gray artists use hundred thousands of ink cups with all different grades of shading, just so they can get that super smooth transition from solid black to super light. But we are still learning, so we are not gonna do too much of that, because that's just gonna confuse you. Most important thing is get the technique down. Make sure you can do proper shading. Build contrast. Okay. And now we're gonna color right off that line again. So we're gonna dip in the same shading solution. And we're gonna follow that line and color it towards all the way up until that line. And do bigger circles just to smoothen it out a little bit. again from the line. There. So we're starting to get more and more shape into this skull that we did here. Let's put some Vaseline on it so we can clean it a bit easier. Fresh paper towel. There. This is starting to look like something. Now, this is still, you know, we're getting somewhere, but it's still flat. It's missing a lot of the details. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go again, and we're gonna go with our medium or third ink cup, which is a little bit lighter again. First clean it out. And we are gonna add some of the shape in the facial feature. So first we're gonna start here with the bone that's on the eye that we left open here. So I'm gonna start from the bottom and try to blend it into the black a little bit, and then move up. Again. Just keep doing that. Work from this line towards the other just to get that a bit more shape in there. Now you want to keep in mind that like places like here and at the top here, they will most likely create a shadow on that bone. So you work from there towards away from it. So you create a little bit of that shading or that shadow aspect. And work from this line. Now we also want to smoothen out this part because it's still pretty rough. So we're gonna shade a little bit over it. So we're gonna go a little faster and just go over these edges of the shading just to blend that lighter tone into there. Smoothing it out a little bit, work from multiple directions, go from the bottom, go kind of sideways. And sideways from the other way, you know. Just so you hit it from every direction. Trying to smoothen out the dark shade into a little bit of lighter tone. Also, don't forget, you can always leave a little bit of skin. It's never bad to leave open skin. You don't have to fill this whole thing in with solid grays. Just smoothing some bits out a little bit. Now if you feel like certain parts should be darker, you can always dip back in a little bit of a darker shade and darken these spots off a little bit. For example here, I want that to be a little bit darker. And the bottom here as well. And when you're gonna go back to your light tone, always make sure you clean your needles. You don't want to blend that darkness into your light tones. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create some shape on that nose. Now what we're gonna be doing is from the base pretty much, so like this part here, we're gonna shape upwards towards the nose so we can leave a little bit of a highlight somewhere here. Okay. So from here, we're gonna go up and try to leave a little bit of skin just from where that darkness of the inner part of the nose is. Perfect, don't overdo it. Sometimes less is more, you know, in situations like this. I'm gonna hit this back thing here a little bit. This one can be a bit darker. And this one you can also shade all the way up, because this is kind of where this little crease creates the shading. The eyebrows, so to say. And you can shade that up on this eye as well. And don't take it all the way around. Just do little bits at a time. want to blend this part just a little bit more. I'm gonna go from here. Also, I want to do a little bit of that shading around the eye. So I'm actually from here gonna work my way down there. This will create just a little bit more shape to that eye. Now while you're tattooing, if you feel like certain places just need a little bit more attention, you can always do that. You know, if you start and you work away, it's like about building up a piece. It doesn't have to be done right straight away. If you feel like certain places should be a little bit darker, make sure you go back and make them a little bit darker, you know? Better do that than make them too dark right from the bat. Just slowly build it up. And then of course, if you are working on real skin, always double check if you're not overworking the skin when you do that. But as long as you go slow, you can sometimes go over a certain spot many times before you start overworking. Alright. Now let's smoothen this out a little bit from that base. So we're gonna go back and forth towards the little line I created there, because that's going to be shaded again. And you want to come under the nose as well. Make sure you keep a little bit of that skin in between the line and the shade. With that same tone, I'm gonna do this little curve here. Shade it towards the back. Don't do too much, just a little bit. Color up to that line a little bit. There we go. It's cool, starting to get shape. Now from here, because it's a little bit round, we want to add a little bit shading going forward just to give it a little bit of depth. I think I'm gonna use my lightest tone for that. And I'm not gonna clean the needle just yet because this corner here can be a little bit darker. So from here, if you want, you can leave a little bit of skin from the line, and then from here we're gonna go forward. Make sure you also leave a little bit of skin from the line from where the teeth are, just to give it a little something, you know? Don't go too crazy, just a little bit can be enough. And then you can also follow it up towards this part here. So So you kind of create a little turn. Keep using the light ink. Maybe actually it is good to just go all the way up to the line. Now seeing this might be better. So I'm gonna dip in a little bit of a darker ink and just go up to this line here. And you can color over the line into the old shading a little bit. Just darken it up so it's not the harshest transition. We already have a line there, which is already hard enough. If you want to do it more realistic, you might not want that line there. It's up to you. I always like to outline my tattoos, no matter what I do. Just looks a little bit more natural. And then for this part here, I'm gonna go all the way up to the line, but I'm gonna use a light tone because this bone is kind of curved, it's round, and you want to give it that shape. And go all the way up to here. And blend it into this part here. And just give everything a bit of dimension, you know? Go. Now that we've done that, I want to come in with my lighter tone and smoothen this part here out just a little bit. Go from the nose up towards the little line we made there. And then kind of connect this all a bit together with the light tone. And smoothen it out. Looks good. And here as well. Go around this part. Go around the nose. And then hit just up to this line a little bit. Just a little bit so you know it's curving over there. This out just a little bit before we move on. Move this a little bit more down. Perfect. Now you see how I made these little lines in here. For that we're gonna use the liner just to make things a little bit easier. We're gonna dip not in the lightest ink, but in the one just a little bit darker. 3 or 4 drops that we did. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna whip shade these down. So we're gonna start with this one since it's a little bit darker. And just shade them towards where the teeth usually are. And this is usually the hardest part, or at least to me this is the hardest part whenever I do a skull. This is where you can easily screw it up. But if you don't do it, it looks super strange. I think I might even want to slow down my machine a little bit more because I'm not comfortable with the speed right now. So I'm gonna do it even slower. I'm now at 4.5 volts. So it might take me a little bit longer, but at least I'm gonna be satisfied with what I did. There we go. You see the difference between these two? It's because I can work more comfortable if it's a little bit slower. See if I can fix this one up a little bit. That's looking better. Alright, now we got that part. Now that I have the liner, I want to touch this part just a little bit. So we can get the shape a little bit better. There. Okay. Now we should probably do something about the forehead, because it is looking a little bit plain. Now I'm gonna dip it into my lightest ink because I don't want to make that too dark. Pretty much from the nose, I'm gonna go up towards here, just so you can define kind of what's the right and the left side of the face. So from here I'm gonna whip shade up. And then probably make this side a little bit darker. So not only from the line am I going up, I'm also gonna go towards the skull, towards the line of the skull. There. And then from here I'm gonna make this shape around the eye just a little bit bigger, and from the nose going up. I want to do that just a little bit darker, so I'm going to dip into a little bit of a darker ink and go over that just one more time. And that's what I'm also going to do with this part of the face, especially in the middle where the shade starts. Make that a little bit darker. Alright. It's probably still looking a little bit plain somewhere over here. I also think this spot is a little bit weird, so I'm going to use a darker shade and just shade that a little bit. I think it's a mistake that I made in the drawing, to be honest. This line should have not been there. it's okay. Happy accidents, they happen. There, it's already looking a little bit better. Okay, now we're gonna go back to our light gray again. Now we're gonna fill some spots here and there just to give it a little bit more. So let's say we're gonna go from this bone, we're gonna go up and follow this line, but leave a little bit of skin. Go from here. Here you can touch all the way up to the line, perhaps, you know, whatever you like. Have a little bit of fun with it. Just starting to get more shape into things that you think that look too flat or too boring. Maybe we can go actually all the way up to the line. I mean, the shade behind it is dark enough. Alright. And now we're gonna shade a little bit from the top of the skull down, just to get that round looking effect. I think I'm gonna start with the second lightest shading and then probably smooth it out with the lightest shade. Also make sure when you start shading you don't go into here. So you want to draw this line more imaginary and just start somewhere here. And then working the other way. I can actually turn my machine up, I forgot about that. But I was still running it super slow. It was probably good for the smaller detail things. For the bigger shapes I can go a little bit faster. I'm just making really big movements just to create a smoother and longer transition. So you don't want to go too short. You could also start with the lightest ink, make longer strokes and then darken it up. But I think this will work okay for me. Longer strokes. Let's darken it up a little bit on the edges. And blend it out. Couple more passes with the lighter shading just to smoothen some bits out a little bit on the back here a bit. And I'm just gonna gently brush over it. It looks and sounds really rough when I do it on the practice skin, but I'm barely going into the skin actually. I'm just softly brushing over it. And there you have it. We have just tattooed the skull, and we got all the basic shapes, we got some details. Now if you want, you can always add a little bit more detail, like for example you could add like more of a bone kind of structure somewhere over here, you know, so you have a couple more lines like this. You could add some cracks into the skull. That's all up to you, but these are the basics on tattooing a skull. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, make sure you subscribe, because I could really use some more subscribers. I got more videos like this coming up. I'm gonna do more reviews, they are gonna come up soon. But also let me know in the comments what you want me to tattoo for the next episode of the journey, because I would love to get your guys' input on what you want to see me tattoo and what you probably struggle with, or what you want to see me tattoo, so we can help each other out to get better at tattooing black and gray. So let's quickly hop back onto the couch and see you later. Thanks everybody for watching this video. I hope you really learned something from today's video, or at least maybe find some mistakes that you made when you were tattooing a skull. Now make sure, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and also send me a message in the comment section below of what you want me to see tattoo for the future episodes of the journey, because I want to be a little bit more interactive with having you guys more involved in the journey, because I can show a lot of different things, but it would be really helpful to get some feedback from you, or get some ideas from you, like, oh, maybe you should do something like this, do something like that, maybe do something more about texture, whatever. Just let me know in the comments below, and then we'll see you in the next episode.